You know that moment when your whole world flips upside down? One phone call can do that. It was a rainy Tuesday evening. I was sitting in my small apartment, the one with the leaky ceiling I'd been meaning to fix for 2 years, when my phone rang. It was Mom's lawyer. "Sarah?" he said gently. "I'm so sorry. Your parents were in a car accident. They didn't make it." The room spun. I dropped the phone. I was 29 years old, and suddenly an orphan. But that wasn't even the biggest shock. 2 weeks later, at the will reading, everything changed. My parents had left almost everything to me. The family house, the big 3-bedroom Victorian on Maple Street that my brother Mark had always called his future home. They left it to me. Mark wasn't there that day. He was too busy with work, he said. But I could already feel the storm coming. I moved into the house the following weekend. It still smelled like Mom's lavender candles and Dad's old books. I cried in every room. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a real home. A place that was truly mine. I should have known Mark wouldn't let that happen. Let me take you back so you understand why this house mattered so much. Mark is 6 years older than me. The golden child. The one who got the new bike, the better school, the louder applause. My parents loved us both, but Mark was always the favorite. He knew it. I knew it. Everyone knew it. When I was 15, I wanted to study art. Mark wanted a new car for college. Guess who got the car? When I was 22 and struggling to pay rent while working 2 jobs, Mark got a big promotion and a down payment help from Mom and Dad. But the house, that was supposed to be different. Mom once told me quietly, "Sarah, when we're gone, this house should go to the one who actually needs it and loves it, not the one who just wants to sell it for profit." I never thought she'd actually put that in writing. So when I got the keys, I promised myself I would honor them. I started fixing the garden Mom loved. I kept Dad's old workshop exactly as he left it. For the first time, I felt like I belonged somewhere. Then Mark came back into my life. Mark showed up unannounced 3 weeks after I moved in. He had that same confident smile he always wore when he wanted something. "Hey sis," he said, hugging me like we were best friends. "The house looks nice. You've been busy." We sat in the kitchen. He drank Dad's old whiskey like it was his. Then he got straight to the point. "Look, Sarah, this house is too big for one person. I've got a wife, 2 kids, and a business that's about to explode." Mom and Dad were old when they made that will. They weren't thinking clearly. We should sell it and split the money. Fair is fair, right? I felt my chest tighten. "Mark, the will is clear. The house is mine." He laughed. That low, dismissive laugh I hated since childhood. "Shouldn't be challenged, Sarah. Don't be selfish." That was the first crack. But I still hoped he would accept it. He didn't. 2 days later, I came home from work and saw a white van parked in the driveway. A man in a uniform was kneeling at the front door, working on the lock. My brother stood beside him, arms crossed, looking proud. My heart almost stopped. "Mark, what are you doing?" I shouted, running up the porch steps. He turned with that same smug smile. "Changing the lock, sis, for security. Since I'm moving in next week." The locksmith looked uncomfortable. He clearly didn't want to be in the middle of this. I stepped between them. "This is my house. You have no right." Mark pulled out a piece of paper. "I talked to my lawyer. We're contesting the will. Until then, I'm taking possession. You've got until Friday to move your stuff out." I stood there shaking. The brother who used to push me on the swing set was now trying to lock me out of my own home. He actually believed he could do it. That night I cried harder than I did when I lost my parents. But somewhere in the tears, something shifted. I was done being the quiet little sister. Here's what Mark never knew. For the last 4 years, while he was busy showing off his successful life, I had been quietly building something. I started a small interior design business from my tiny apartment. It grew. Then it grew faster. I had been doing all the design work for the new luxury housing development on the edge of town. The one Mark's company had bid on and lost. I never told my family how well it was doing. I didn't want the pressure. I didn't want Mark asking for loans. But the biggest secret? They'd in me something else in a separate letter, attached to the will but only to be opened by me. It contained the deed to the house, and proof that they had transferred full ownership to me 2 years before they passed, as a living trust. Completely ironclad. Mark had no idea. I called my lawyer the next morning. I didn't scream. I didn't cry in front of him. Instead, I smiled. I let Mark think he was winning. I told him I needed a few days to pack. He loved that. He thought he had broken me. While he was celebrating, I was preparing. I gathered every document. I recorded every conversation quietly on my phone. I hired the best probate lawyer in the state. And most importantly, I prepared the surprise. 3 days later, Mark showed up again with moving boxes and 2 of his friends. He was ready to move in. I was waiting on the porch with my lawyer and a police officer. Mark laughed when he saw us. "Really, Sarah? Police? This is getting pathetic." My lawyer stepped forward. "Miss Thompson, you are trespassing on private property. This house belongs solely to Sarah Thompson under a living trust executed 2 years ago. Any attempt to change locks or enter without permission is illegal." Mark's face changed. Then I delivered the final blow. I handed him the folder. "Open it, Mark." Inside were the trust documents. Bank statements showing I had paid all the property taxes for the last 2 years. And something else. The contract for the luxury housing project, the one worth over $2 million, signed in my company's name. You own that project?" His voice cracked. "Yes, the one your company lost, the one you bragged you were going to dominate." His face went pale. The locksmith from earlier was watching from the van, looking awkward. Mark started yelling. He threatened to fight the will. He called me selfish. He even brought up childhood memories, trying to guilt me. I just stood there calmly. "Mark, you tried to lock me out of the only thing Mom and Dad trusted me with. You betrayed your own sister. Now you have 30 days to vacate any claim and stay away from this house." The police officer stepped forward and asked him to leave. For the first time in his life, Mark had nothing to say. He just stood there, speechless, as his friends slowly backed away. Mark eventually dropped the contest. His lawyer told him he had 0 chance. He tried calling a few times. First angry, then sorry, then begging. I didn't answer. I kept the house. I turned Mom's old sewing room into my design studio. I planted the garden she always dreamed about. And every evening I sit on the porch with a cup of tea, feeling their presence. Mark still lives in his big house with the big mortgage. Last I heard, his company lost 2 more contracts. Sometimes justice doesn't come with loud shouting. It comes quietly, like a door that simply refuses to open for the wrong person. Soft music fade in. If there's one thing I want you to take from my story, it's this. Family isn't about who shouts the loudest or who feels most entitled. It's about who shows up with love and respect. Never let anyone, not even your own brother, make you feel small in your own home. Protect your peace. Trust the truth. And when someone tries to lock you out, sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to open the door. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been betrayed by family, drop a comment. You're not alone. End screen, subscribe. Next video suggestion, gentle music out.